Hi there, hello and good morning. How are you all doing this morning? Well, we've got loads to talk about on the program today. We've got something for kids, for parents, for the gut, for sporting enthusiasts. So it's pretty much an action-packed show. So let's quickly dive in. Florida has banned social media platform for children under 14. So if you are a parent wondering what exactly to do, well, we are going to talk about what can India do to fight its screen addiction. What happens when you cannot see but have other vital senses that are active? Now, a first of its kind infrastructure project to facilitate those who are visually impaired. Antibiotics, we all know they completely destroy your gut bacteria, but how to go back and improve your gut flora? We discussed that with Dr. Parental. Well, traveling from Bandra to Marine Drive, you have the coastal road now, but we put that on a speed test. We took a train and then the coastal road to see how much of a difference does it actually make for the commuter. Also on the program, all the IPL action, it's nothing less than action-packed these days with all the matches ending on a thriller. We bring you everything that's happening with the return of Virat and Karthik. Alright, let's start the program today on something that has been bugging a lot of parents. It's a topic of debate in every household, especially for all mothers. Now, recently what happened in the state of Florida, United States, they banned social media for kids under 14. Now, that obviously grabbed a lot of headlines and many hailed it, calling it the need of the hour. But let's dissect a little bit today on the Breakfast Club on what effectively does this Florida ban do to kids. What it has done is that it has banned kids who are younger to 14 years old from owning a social media account. That means you can't have a social media account of your own. But as we all know, anybody who has kids knows that once kids find an addiction, they find a way to make it happen. They can log in to accounts from their parents, from their siblings, from their grandparents. There's really nothing stopping them. But we wanted to look at this story from an India lens, understand how it can be implemented, if at all, in India. If not, then holistically, what exactly is at risk when it comes to screen addiction in our kids. India at the moment doesn't have a law, but some existing guidelines at least. The guidelines are simple. If you're logging in or making an account on any of the social media platforms, it will ask you to self-attest and tick whether you are above 18 or not. Now, we all know how that will go down with kids, right? So, it's going to be very easy basically to circumvent that rule. There is a very active, fiery debate amongst parent circle here in India wanting to understand how do we curb this addiction. Because understand this very clearly, the dangers of early internet exposure is not just of addiction or sleeping disorders or eating disorder or eye strain or stress or even character issues, if you want to call it that. It can lead to even further problems in kids. It leads our kids vulnerable to glorifying bullying, sexual predators, several scams. The issue is grave. So let's take it up with an expert now to try and understand how much screen time is too much screen time. Because remember, we live in a digital age where classrooms are digital, chatting up with your grandparents is digital. You cannot escape the phone. So what is the right way to incorporate that in your life? On that note, let me welcome Riddhi Doshi Patel on the program. Good morning, Riddhi.
Good morning, good morning.
She is a psychologist, she's a parenting counsel, she's a mental health practitioner and a founder and director of RINS Academy. So Riddhi is pretty much the best person to sort of take this with. Riddhi, like I said, we cannot escape phones, laptops, iPads, screens in today's age. It's just not possible. So what is the best way to incorporate it?
Parental controls, I feel, is the best way to incorporate because the parents can access. Okay. Now, when I'm talking about parental controls, there are a lot of apps. Since we are talking digital, we are talking technology. There are so many apps these days where parents can analyze, parents can have control of hours the children are using the screens.
You can monitor basically.
You can monitor, you can keep a control on the number of hours also you want your child to access social media. Okay. So that in a way helps, I personally believe.
That helps, but again, I'm sure with every age group, there's going to be a different mindset that one has to adopt. Let's look at the age group of below 14, since that's what Florida has done, since that's the active debate here as well. What age, according to you, let me just cover the bases here, okay? What age, according to you, I'm really keen to understand, is appropriate for kids to be introduced to screen for the first time?
I would say not about 8 years. If you ask me as a child psychologist, not below 8. About 8, that too 40 minutes, 45 minutes, that too also for your education purpose. Okay. There are so many things parents can do with children rather than giving them a screen or replacing parenting with screens. So there are multiple things like involving children in creating menus, having family time when you analyze or you help your child to understand the responsibility associated with having more screen times. Or how do different social media impact you as a human being, you as a child. Okay. And the best thing is parents can only explain to children, nobody else.
See, Riddhi, I'm a young mother as well, okay? So I have a lot to say about parenting and I feel very strongly about it. But let me just get this straight. You're saying not before 8 years of age should any child be exposed to screen.
Not
because the
before
downside is very, very critical.
Absolutely.
It sort of hampers in character building altogether. And you're saying even after 8, only 45 minutes in a day.
Absolutely, because I see parents that the children who are age 4 or 5 are given Instagram who are just scrolling reels, you know. They affect not only their mental health, their emotional health, their developmental issues. There are a lot of things that a child gets impacted. Also, the child's mind is very small, very chota. The exposure is less. They don't understand the impact, but it does. And it's a huge impact.
Yeah, we're seeing that in several ways, you know, eating disorders, like I said in my opening as well, sleeping disorders, not being able to express because
body image issues.
Body image issues.
So I see the best on social media. I see on Instagram that everybody is in good shape. Like everybody is having a happy life. So I start feeling or I start comparing that, okay.
I question my own life. Yeah.
Absolutely. Right? That I don't have this facilities or this body shape I don't have or I don't look that pretty. Obviously, it's going to impact a child. When it's impacting adults, it's going to impact a child as well.
That's true. But let's talk about parenting. I would like to believe that no parent is trying to replace their presence with a device. Nobody wants to do that. The reality of our times is that we are just trying to get the job done. We are in nuclear families. The age-old concept of grandparents being there to look after at a time when parents themselves are at the peak of trying to, you know, make a living for themselves. They're working parents. All of that is happening. But one thing I see mothers struggle, and it's sad to say only mothers, I think fathers should also struggle a little bit, but mostly mothers struggle with is feeding the kid. And I think that's the time everybody says कि screen तो देना ही पड़ेगा. खाने के समय तो दिखाना ही पड़ेगा कोई कार्टून, वरना बच्चा खाना नहीं खाएगा. Right? It's bad, we know, but do you have a solution?
Yes, absolutely. So while a mother is feeding a child, the best thing is that आप nursery rhymes गाओ. Okay, आप अपने बच्चे के साथ the food that you're making your child eat, talk about where the grains are coming from. So this is how you're going to help your child increase the general knowledge. अच्छा, आप कौन से स्टेट से वो ग्रेन्स आ रहे हैं? जैसे if you are making your child eat porridge, talk about wheat. Which states the wheat, you know, in our country wheat is grown. So this is how you are connecting with your child. You're replacing screen with your own self. It's a question of just getting a little bit involved. Okay, it's not difficult. It's no rocket science, I would say.
I like what she's saying. She's saying basically, don't play any cartoons to them. Become
Absolutely.
that cartoon, okay? Become that one storyteller in front of your child.
Yes, there are so
and
many
ensure that
things.
you entertain your child and you don't have a screen entertaining your child.
Absolutely.
That's effectively what you're saying.
Not entertaining, but getting a little more involved.
Yeah,
Okay. And
yeah.
when you connect with your child, imagine when I'm feeding my child and I'm talking about stories, I'm talking about the states of our country, I'm singing a nursery rhyme, I'm creating some rhymes for him. That's how he will remember for lifetime.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's a better way of doing it rather than replacing it with screens.
True, true. So, I like the 8-year threshold, but from 8 to 14, what Florida has done is, and what also social media does in India, at the moment, a lot of these platforms ask you to claim and put it out that whether or not you're 18 plus, otherwise you cannot have a social media account. That hasn't stopped any child on this planet
Absolutely.
from getting away from social
Absolutely.
media. That's the most bizarre thing, any which ways. But moving in 8 to this 14 bracket, 8 is the time in the kid's life when school is active, they're talking about things, projects are coming in, a lot of those projects require you to be on the screen, require you to be in front of the laptop. Like I said, the pandemic has sort of, it's really extrapolated us into this journey of digital revolution as well, and classrooms are now going to be on your laptop.
Absolutely.
How do you balance it then?
So that's all the screen needs to be used for. Okay. Apart from that, see, if your child loves reading, okay, replace Kindle with book, the hardbound books. Okay. A little tweak. If you're putting up a message in family group on WhatsApp that what you want to eat, go and meet your grandparents, go and meet the family members on Sunday, create a menu together. Okay, so this is how you're replacing, instead of WhatsApp, you're using face-to-face connection. So from real to real is a transition, but it's not difficult. Also, the time when you are at home, that is the weekends, right? You can have your children involved in gardening and cooking and the household chores, right? One thing.
So weekend should be screen blackout
Absolutely,
times.
absolutely.
No screens on
No
weekends.
screens.
So there
no
should
screens.
be rules not just about when you can use, but when you can and definitely not use
So
screen.
when we're talking about child, it is important that the parents also obey that rule, okay? Because if we parents are constantly on mobile phone, the children are going to mirror us as parents. So evening, put your phone aside. Probably when your child sleeps and you want to just scroll or you want to check the WhatsApp, do it. But avoid in front of your children. Unless they are 14 or 15, where they know that the mother is going to work or the father is going to work, and this is a device helping them to connect with people for their work. Else it should be avoided. So weekend should be like Sunday, no phone day. Okay, this is something which I'm also trying to implement at my end.
How's
with
that
my
going? How is that going?
It's going good because either morning we go out for a walk together or we sit and have breakfast or we do gardening together, but there's no phone day. At least till 1:30, no phone.
Right.
So that's how you are connecting with your family, your child. You're creating a space for your child to talk about the whole week, right? So while if you're working parents, during the week, we don't know what has happened with the child. We keep on asking, kya hua, kaisa gaya din? But the child doesn't want to talk because right now when I'm talking to you, you are saying, you're connecting with me. There are gestures. But children these days, they are not understanding those gestures because they are completely hooked onto the screen, and the screen doesn't teach them gestures. Okay, so it's very important to connect with people in real life so that there is a human connect. And human connect is important for a lot of developmental space in us, even the hormonal changes also. Right? So family time is something when you talk about how the week has been, how did you manage small situations.
Riddhi, this is a very nice discussion because I'm getting a lot of comments online, and one question is actually saying, but what do you do when their friends in school have phones and mobile phones? My child comes back to tell me that my friend has a phone, why shouldn't I get one?
Exactly.
How do you answer that question?
Yes, so that is the major issue. Parents are also in the space of comparison these days, right? And that is my concern. So when I read the news yesterday, the first question was that would parents stop comparing? Would children stop comparing? And that is exactly the space where you need to connect with your child and explain what are the responsibilities associated with screens, use of mobile phone. And you have to give your child to access WhatsApp or the school notes and all, then have parental controls, strict parental controls, because the child's mind is not equipped to understand few things. Imagine you are on Instagram, the child is having Instagram account at 11 and a half or 12, and there's somebody who is slapping each other or such videos are seen. What is your child learning? It's okay to hit, it's okay to shout, it's okay to judge, it's okay to bully, right? So that's something which you need to explain your child.
Yeah, you basically have to become a tiger mom, and you have to ensure that how we explain to our kids perhaps that there is an age for taking your own decisions, there is an age to vote, an age to start drinking, an age to start partying. Maybe there should be a very clear age to get tech involved as well. And even after that, there should be a controlled manner in which you sort of do this. Absolutely. But like you said, the heart of this entire issue is how much of this behavior can we as adults also inculcate.
Yes.
We do very often programs here and segments here on the Breakfast Club where we talk about how sleep disorder is increasing because people, the last thing they see before they sleep is actually their phones. When they eat, they're not listening to their body and their gut, but they're listening to somebody on TV, and that's why they don't know when to stop. So if we as adults don't sort of fix this problem, we'll never be able to pave the way for the younger ones as well. And also, I think the takeaway there, last comments from you, Riddhi, on what can be done by these social media platforms as well. We now know that Florida is sort of, set the tone over here. Again, their law is also pretty much saying that you can't do it, you can't have a account. But like I said, nobody is stopping kids from, accessing social media if you don't have an account. But what then is a good approach for policymakers watching right now, for social media sort of companies watching right now? What should they be doing to have a very clear kid lens?
So in our country, there's something called Aadhaar card. Okay. It's very important that whenever you open a social media account, you need to give a proof of your Aadhaar card. It is important. So make it mandatory, right? Also, like YouTube has YouTube Kids. So unless you go, if you're logging through Gmail, it's not going to allow you to access the YouTube, the normal YouTube. It's obviously going to take you to the YouTube Kids. Similarly, for all the social media handles, the algorithms needs to be set in a way that kids cannot access at all, because that is pretty dangerous.
Dangerous indeed,
Yes.
but like I said, let's not paint a doomsday picture over here. The point is very simple. Like I said, there has to be an age for everything that you do in life, and perhaps one where you should access social media as well. It brings it, and internet with itself brings in a lot of good, but we got to know how to navigate the bad as well. And as long as we're doing that, we're going to be in an okay space. Thanks so much, Riddhi, for joining us on the program.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, after that very educational note for all parents out there, so much of responsibility that we've all got to take up on ourselves for our kids and for everybody else around us. Let's shift our focus to more solutions, and let's shift our focus to something more positive. Now, we all know that there has been so many tech solutions to how we navigate and help those who are visually impaired go about with their life. There are audiobooks, there are better facilities now being made, not to the extent that we want, but facilities at least being made in terms of navigating through road, etc. But have you ever thought about an infrastructure built purely for the blind? That's happened for the first time here in the country, and so happy to have the founder here with us of Sealab. Please join me in saying hello to Anand Sunecha. Anand joins us from Gandhinagar. Good morning, Anand, where he's built a really unique school for the visually impaired and for the blind. The school is designed for children who come from very, very remote villages and towns in Gujarat, but are very eager to learn. And they get this opportunity to live there, to be there in a surrounding that is designed, an infrastructure that is designed purely for them. So Anand, take us through. Firstly, I want to understand, It's called Sealabs, but not the C one. So I want to understand, where does the name come from, and how did you get down to designing an infrastructure for the blind? And you know, this concept is so interesting because infrastructure is made to be seen, is made to be experienced. But how do you design something for people who will never see what you have built? It is so interesting.
Thank you so much for having me here. First of all, Sealab is an architecture practice that I run in Ahmedabad. So we founded Sealab in 2015. Like any other architecture practice, we do different kind of projects. We do cultural buildings, we do institutions, housing, many other infrastructure. But this particular project, School for the Blind and Visually Impaired Children, also is a very distinct experience for us and very close to our heart. Just to give a quick idea about the project. So we were invited by Viren Joshi, the president of Service Association for the Blind, in 2017 to look at the current infrastructure of the school, which was running from a defunct primary school building from the government. They adapted to use as a school and the hostel facilities. So students were living on the ground floor, girls and boys, and on the first floor they were studying. And the students, as you mentioned, that they come from very remote villages and small towns of the state, Gujarat, and who has no financial capacity to for the education. And over the period of time, the number increased, and there was a crunch in space. It was not in good condition, so many students have to live together in groups, on the bunk beds. So that's where this idea came to being, that why don't we build the new school next to the existing building, and then we renovate the existing infrastructure into the hostel facility in its entirety, so that students can live comfortably and they can have better education facility. So that was the basic premise project through which it started.
But Anand, how did you prep for this? I'm sure there was a lot of research into understanding what is it that they will feel, what are the other senses that you can tap onto if your sight is not there. Tell me a little bit about that process.
Because generally our cities and buildings are designed to be navigated for the users who depend on the visual ability, right? It was very difficult for us to find good examples in the country that what about the infrastructure for the users who do not depend on the visual ability, but they depend on other senses like touch or smell or sound. So it was difficult, but I traveled across the country to see some good examples. So, but I could not find many specifically designed examples in the school. But we saw good schools like Victoria's Memorial School for the Blind. It has good facility. We have a Blind People Association here in Ahmedabad. Also, Prakash, the school for the girls, blind girls. So those were some examples that I saw. But I really wanted to get into more architecture part of it. So that's where I came across Perkins School for the Blind in United States, where Helen Keller and Laura Bridgman and Anne Sullivan, the stalwarts who studied there. That's where I came across, and I worked there for 4.5 months. I showed my design to them, to the teachers who were teaching there for many years. I met very good researchers. They put me in touch to very good people who were expert in blind accessibility and infrastructure. So there were a lot of discussions. I showed my work to them. They gave me inputs, and there was a lot of good discussions. And also the school in Gandhinagar. Other aspect was that teachers and students also gave inputs in their design, because they know their own space well than any of us. That how did they move?
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of time. I spent a lot of time in Gandhinagar, in the existing school, looking at how children move from one place to another. How do they identify things? How do they identify spaces? And so forth. How do they live?
Tell me, so these kids very eager to learn, very eager to do more. and they obviously can't see, but you've designed corridors in a way where just the texture of the wall tells them the direction. There is a bit beautiful thing about how you've planted different trees that smell differently, that tell people which way they are really going. Talk to us a little bit about the other senses that you've managed to sort of make use of in this project.
So the school is designed to be navigated by more than one of five senses. It is sense of touch, smell, hearing, and sight. So we use those senses and we try to convert into our infrastructure. Like for example, the plan of the school is very basic. It's a very rectangular building. What we did was we use five different kind of textures in the school. So for example, we use sand face texture on the exterior periphery of the school. So when students move and touch the exterior part, they know they are on the periphery or on the outside. Whereas inside, as you said, in the corridor, we use rough and smooth texture, the combination of it. So on the smoother side, there are classrooms. On the rougher side is the courtyard of the main courtyard of the school. The longer side, so since it's a rectangular building, the longer side of the corridor we created horizontal texture, and the shorter side of the corridor we created vertical texture. So students also might understand which side of the corridor they are in. So these are like small tools we thought that we'll introduce, which might help navigating the students. So we used also textures on the floor. So each classroom entry is marked by a different texture of kota stone. So students understand when they walk, because we have used rough and smooth kota stone in our flooring. So wherever classroom entry is, we use rough kota stone. So students understand that this is the entry of the classroom. So that was one.
How ingenious is that? Yeah.
Thank you. So that was one sense of touch that we used for. Then we use sense of hearing. So since again it's a rectangular building, so on the entrance of the school, we created a corridor which is wide and tall, whereas the opposite side of that corridor we created very narrow and short. So when you talk on those parts, you have a very different kind of echo that has been produced. Or many students use clap to understand spaces, or when you walk with your feet, it makes some sound. So student might understand that they are on the entrance part because it is wide and tall. Whereas when they go on the opposite side of the school, they might understand they're the opposite side of the entry. So these are like, again, that clue through sense of sound that we try to identify which space you are in. So that's something that we have used. And then sense of smell.
No, Anand, yeah, smell. I'm very interested in that, the different plants and trees.
Yes. So we collaborated with landscape architect Lokendra Balasaria. So he helped us to identify different species of plants and trees which are aromatic, which is good for shade, which is also good for inviting birds and butterflies and improving the ecosystem. So our idea was to plant specific species of plants which are aromatic in courtyards. So each classroom has its own courtyard, private courtyard, through which we are bringing the filtered light, because light is also a very important concern for low vision students. So we are bringing indirect light, filtered light from the courtyards, and in those courtyards we planted aromatic plants through which the classroom can be distinct. So this is something that we tried, and we're still in the post-occupancy survey stage where we are still studying what we thought worked, what we didn't work. And I think only after a few years, I think we'll be able to assess everything very critically. Yeah, and the corridor also.
But what a job well done, Anand. Thanks so much for everything that you've done, and this is so unique. And I love, it's not just about making it accessible for the visually impaired, but it's about also giving them the independence. The fact that you know these corridors, the fact you know exactly where you're going and you don't need assistance. Imagine the sense of confidence that will be built in these kids as well. So congratulations to you. and we'll connect again and we'll see where this project has gone. And like I said, this is the first of its kind infrastructure being imagined for the visually impaired, and I think that's what makes it so very exciting. And we were talking about how this can be scaled up, so many things that can be done about this concept as well. But for now, thanks Anand for joining us and sharing your story.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Bye.
All right, on that note, we're going to slip into a break, but coming up on the other side is all the IPL action, how Virat and Karthik pulled off a stupendous win against Punjab after the match went down to the wire. On Monday, we'll take you through all those details. All right, let's start the program today on something that has been bugging a lot of parents. It's a topic of debate in every household, especially for all mothers. Now, recently what happened in the state of Florida, United States, they banned social media for kids under 14. Now, that obviously grabbed a lot of headlines and many hailed it, calling it the need of the hour. But let's dissect a little bit today on the Breakfast Club on what effectively does this Florida ban do to kids. What it has done is that it has banned kids who are younger to 14 years old from owning a social media account. That means you can't have a social media account of your own. But as we all know, anybody who has kids knows that once kids find an addiction, they find a way to make it happen. They can log in to accounts from their parents, from their siblings, from their grandparents. There's really nothing stopping them. But we wanted to look at this story from an India lens, understand how it can be implemented, if at all, in India. If not, then holistically, what exactly is at risk when it comes to screen addiction in our kids. India at the moment doesn't have a law, but some existing guidelines at least. The guidelines are simple. If you're logging in or making an account on any of the social media platforms, it will ask you to self-attest and tick whether you are 18, above 18 or not. Now, we all know how that will go down with kids, right? So, it's going to be very easy basically to circumvent that rule. There is a very active, fiery debate amongst parent circle here in India wanting to understand how do we curb this addiction. Because understand this very clearly, the dangers of early internet exposure is not just of addiction or sleeping disorders or eating disorder or eye strain or stress, or even character issues, if you want to call it that. It can lead to even further problems in kids. It leads our kids vulnerable to glorifying bullying, sexual predators, several scams. The issue is grave. So let's take it up with an expert now to try and understand how much screen time is too much screen time. Because remember, we welcome back, and it's time for all the IPL action now. This season of IPL is nothing less action-packed, with most of the matches being final over thrillers. Now, there have been many talking points this season, and one such talking point has been the return of Virat and Karthik, how they took RCB to a stupendous win on Monday. First Post Rupa Ramani has all the details.
Now, if anyone thought that Virat Kohli and T20 don't gel anymore, well, think again. At least that's the clear message that the batters sent out last night. Royal challengers Bengaluru got over the line against Punjab Kings at home, notching up their first win in the league. It was the VK and DK show. Kohli, of course, starts and Karthik finishes. Let's start with the VK show first. Virat Kohli at Chinnaswamy with a target in sight. There is little else that can keep someone like him away from getting there. And of course, being dropped by Johnny Bairstow off the very second ball of the innings at slips was probably just the wake-up call Virat Kohli needed. He did not, of course, need another reminder to get going, even as wickets fell around him. The track on offer was not the typical belter that you normally associate with Bengaluru's Chinnaswamy Stadium, but you could score if you just kept your head down, which is what the master demonstrated. Even so, 170-odd runs was not going to be much of a challenge. That's what I thought, but the Kings bowling unit made a match of it. On that particular track, they pushed RCB quite hard and to the edge. Virat, though, stood tall in this encounter. He scored 77 of 49 deliveries, typical Kohli domination. Those cover drives were exquisite and a treat to watch. And the King made a few loud statements too.
Not a bad start, playing after 2 months and getting into the tournament. They know I play the cover drive well, so they are not going to allow me to hit gaps. I know my name is now attached to just promoting the game in different parts of the world when it comes to T20 cricket. I've still got it, I guess.
Quite a cheeky comment there, and he made quite a few points in that statement that he still is playing T20 cricket at his best. And he took a dig out there at anyone who thought that Virat Kohli and T20 cricket really didn't belong together anymore. Former India coach and cricketer Ravi Shastri, who's had a good relationship, had shared a close bond with Virat Kohli, especially during his time as the coach of the Indian team, had some days back made a comment during commentary that youngsters should be looked at now heading to the World Cup in the Indian squad. Could this be a response to that? And even so, by crediting Rahul Dravid in the same post-match interaction, Kohli spoke of creating moments and memories rather than going after statistics and looking at numbers alone. Virat Kohli gave another reminder that you're always learning. That never stops. And there was, of course, that cute little moment post the match where he was seen making little gestures, looking at his phone, predictably calling up his family. He's a father again now, and it has been quite an emotional ride for Virat Kohli. But before I get into the DK cameo that sealed the deal, a couple of worries for RCB despite that win. The lack of partnerships and pressure slowly building on the other Indian batters. Rajat Patidar, Anuj Rawat, Mahipal Lomror, all talented batters, but maybe the point is to persevere instead of dropping and constant changing. Moving on to Dinesh Karthik, the man who seems to be doing the balancing act pretty well. The man wearing colourful shirts and nailing it as a commentator behind the mic, over on the other side of the fence, seems to have the same touch on the field too. He's looking fabulous and has equally nailed the role as a pinch hitter here in this setup. Which really brings me to the most important point about IPL and how teams manage to win. Proper role definitions. That is the only way you can give a player freedom of expression and the will to execute when he knows what is exactly expected of him. A practice that could pay dividends if delivered across the entire batting lineup.
All right, so that's been happening in IPL, but what's happening in Mumbai? Well, phase 1 from the Worli to Marine Drive was recently opened up of the coastal road that so many people have been speaking about, which makes traveling from suburbs like Bandra to South Mumbai less than 40 minutes. But is that really possible? Can you actually avoid all the South Mumbai traffic? Well, we put that to test, and here's what we found. We figured out that what if you had to not take the coastal road but take a train, these fast trains that are really out there, can it really match up on time? Here's what happened.
Hello guys, we are back. No point for guessing when me and Stacey are together, but obviously you're gonna check out Mumbai's latest infra marvel, the coastal road.
I'm really looking forward to what the coastal road has to offer. But what are we doing different this time, Tanveer?
So we have taken our viewers' suggestions and we have charted out a route from point A to point B, and that is from Bandra Bandstand to Marine Drive via the coastal road.
Interesting. That means the coastal road comes in the middle. But how are we going to make this a little more challenging? How about one of us goes to Marine Drive via the coastal road, but the other goes by a different mode of transport? How about taking the Mumbai local?
Oh, it will be really challenging because it will give us a fair idea of how much time it takes to travel from western suburbs to South Bombay and how much it will cost.
Of course, that cost factor is really what matters, and that's something that you need to be watching out for. But who decides this time who's going to take the train and who's going to get to go by the coastal road?
Well, Stacey, let's do rock, paper and scissors again. What say?
No, please, I'm not doing rock, paper, scissors again. I know what happened last time around.
I got you this time.
How about let's settle this? I take the coastal road while you take the train.
Okay, I'm always up for the challenge.
Fine, I'll see you on the other side. Then Tanveer, all the best.
And let the race begin.
this challenge is all about the timing as well as the cost of how much it will take to get from the suburbs towards South Bombay. So let me hail a cab quickly. Well, from Bandra Promenade towards Marine Drive is where I'm going to, and it's showing me about 350 rupees. So that's what it's going to cost me, and also around 50 odd minutes. So I better get going.
Hi Stacey, what's up?
You're still here?
Yeah. Stacey, I think you're gonna have a comfortable ride because you're familiar with Mumbai's traffic.
You don't worry about me in traffic. You go enjoy the nice body massage you're going to get in the Mumbai local. Oh, my cab is already here.
Oh.
Bye-bye.
Auto! Bandra station.
I seem to have got a head start over Tanveer since my cab came early. But this is the route I'm going to take. I'm going to use the Bandra Worli Sea Link and then connect that to the coastal road, which is going to get me from Worli to Marine Drive. And that's what I'm really looking forward to. And also because I will avoid all of that South Bombay traffic, which normally I would get from Haji Ali towards Pedder Road and then to Girgaon Chowpatty. So because of the coastal road, all of that hopefully is what I'm going to avoid. So Bandra to Marine Drive, my journey has begun.
So guys, as you can see, I'm in the auto rickshaw right now and I'm moving towards Bandra railway station. Let me explain you how I'm going to reach Marine Drive. So first, I need to reach Bandra railway station, get into a Churchgate bound local train, reach the Churchgate station, and from there on I will need a cab to reach end point of Marine Drive. And I hope I reach before Stacey. बहुत मजा आने वाला है. Without wasting any time, I swiftly made my way into the Bandra railway station and successfully boarded the targeted train without any delay. While I was able to board a 9:57 Goregaon Churchgate local train, Stacey had already crossed the Bandra Worli Sea Link.
Tanveer had just crossed Mahim, whereas I had reached the Worli end of the Bandra Worli Sea Link in just about 20 minutes. And finally, I was all set to enter the coastal road.
I'm on the coastal road finally, and it has been such a smooth ride so far. And of course, the fact that I avoid all of that traffic that would otherwise be from Haji Ali getting towards Pedder Road, all of that nowhere close. It is a clear, smooth ride. I'm like swifting away in the breeze, I would say, and that's what the coastal road is meant for. And more importantly, there's no toll, so nothing is added to my budget in this trip.
I soon made my way to the undersea tunnel, a popular attraction along the coastal road. And unlike other parts of the road, the tunnel has a reduced speed limit of 60 kilometers per hour and has 3 lanes, one of which is reserved for ambulances and buses. What makes this 2-kilometer tunnel truly unique is the fact that at one point it reaches a depth of 75 meters below Malabar Hill. It is an incredible feature of engineering indeed.
Stacey had almost reached the destination, whereas I had just reached Lower Parel.
Guys, I've managed to reach Marine Drive in less than 40 minutes. That's what the coastal road has shortened my journey time from Bandra to Marine Drive. This promenade, I'm enjoying the sea view, and that's what people are going to get if they do use that coastal road. And guess where Tanveer is? He's still stuck in the train. He is going to be getting off at Churchgate, and that's where I'm going to meet him right here. But I guess we'll have to wait for him.
As you can see, I've reached the Churchgate station. I quickly need a cab to reach Marine Drive because Stacey has already reached there. Well, it was your day today, that's no doubt about it. But can you tell me how much did it cost you to come from Bandra to Marine Drive?
Well, the cost was about 350 odd for my cab and another 85 for the Bandra Worli toll. So a total of about 435 rupees.
435 rupees.
How much did it cost you?
Only 120 rupees, you know. I mean, 50 for auto rickshaw, 40 rupees ticket from Bandra to Churchgate and 30 rupees from Churchgate station to the taxi till Marine Drive. It was just 120 rupees, okay?
Well, 435 versus 120, that's quite a bit of difference. But how much time did it take you?
Well, I took almost an hour to reach from Bandra to Marine Drive. What about you?
Well, thanks to the coastal road, I reached here in less than 40 minutes.
All right, so you got to choose lesser cost or lesser time. So many options now out there. And Stacey and Tanveer seem to be having too much fun on the roads over there. But let's switch tracks now and talk about something completely different. Let's go back to our segment with Dr. Pal. Now, constantly we hear about how gut bacteria gets completely destroyed. The good gut bacteria that is so solid and so important for how we digest our food and how it's absorbed also in our body, but it goes completely for a toss the minute you take antibiotics. So I sat down with Dr. Pal to understand if that has happened, if you've had to take antibiotics, how do you then repopulate your gut flora, how to incorporate all those good bacteria back into your system. This is how it went. We're going to talk about something very exciting. We all know that antibiotics, they do wonders to our body. They're a great invention in medicine, but they completely destroy your gut bacteria. So getting out of antibiotics, what should you really be doing? I have with me the gut doctor to tell me what exactly. First, just explain to us what happens in your gut when you take an antibiotic. Doctors love it, and let's say it, if you do it judicially, it does do wonders to your, it does do wonder to your body. So how should one look at it?
When we say gut, it is not your stomach. That's number one. It's your intestine. So from the esophagus, food pipe, all the way up to the anal orifice, we have all these bacteria lined up like a 100 trillion firewall cracker. 100 trillion. It's 1 followed by 14 zeros. If you line up all this bacteria, it will reach from the earth all the way up to the moon. That's how long it is, correct? And it has been evolved over 3.5 billion years since the first single cell organism came on. Yes. So if we are just a newbie over here, okay, so these bacteria have been in our body for a long time, as soon as we came in. So what happens is, when we take an antibiotic, these 100 trillion firewall cracker is like very arranged very closely, exactly similar to the cracker. Basically, when you're taking an antibiotic, you are having a Diwali by fire lighting cracker where 50% of this is gone.
Wiped out.
Wiped out completely. And you don't know it right away because it doesn't manifest you any physical ailments right away.
But
in 4 years' time, 5 years' time, that is where your long-term problem starts in. So why is this important? As we discussed, our gut bacteria, getting good gut bacteria is absolutely critical because it manages your hormones, manages your metabolism, and multiple research is showing that it might even control your mood as well. The way you feel, you are happy, you are depressed, it's based on what kind of chemicals these gut bacteria are producing. So there's a lot of research coming up, and so once you get the antibiotics, since 50% is getting blasted, that is why it is absolutely very critical to use antibiotics only if it is needed. The biggest problem here in India is that pharmacy is not controlled. Correct? You can go to a pharmacy store and ask a chemist, Bhaiya, I have sore throat, give me antibiotics. Correct? Give me medication. And they will give you antibiotic for 3 days, which we don't have a regulation. In US, there are lots of bad things in US, but one good thing is that you cannot get an antibiotic without a doctor's prescription. So, number one, for our viewers, we can say that make sure you take antibiotics only prescribed by the doctor. Okay. And number
it can't be your go-to medicine.
Okay. It cannot be your go-to medicine at all. I always say that most of the fevers that we have is mostly viral fevers.
Yes.
For viral fevers, antibiotics does not work. And nowadays, people are taking antibiotics even if there is an IPL fever.
Okay.
So you go to a doctor, he says that don't take antibiotics, it will get better in 3 days. You go to a chemist, they give antibiotics, it will also get better in 72 hours. Both are same. So that mindset has to change, that only people, only medicines will be curing your body, not necessarily.
Right, right.
So that's important.
But can you, people who don't feel the impact just yet, what exactly does destroying of this 50% of gut bacteria will do to you?
So right off the bat, I can tell you that if 50% of gut bacteria is gone, which means your good gut bacteria is also depleted, which means that it will not be producing the chemicals that needed for your body, which means that you will crave for things that you have never craved for before, which means extra high dose of calories, which will lead to obesity, and all this I'm talking about is in due course of time. Second, it will also play a role in your immune system. Immune cells are lined up along the intestine. People are thinking immunity is like throughout the body. It is mainly in the intestines. And if you're damaging this, your immune system is bothered as well. Especially after COVID, people are very conscious about health. Sonal, you must have seen during COVID, some patients were very sick. Some patients had a very mild COVID and they got away with it. Correct?
It had to do with the inherent
thing, and also how good your immune system is.
Yes.
And that is influenced by your gut bacteria.
Gut bacteria. Okay, so we now know that it's really bad and it will have small term to long term impact, right? So what does one do? Say one has to have, once you've got a bacterial infection, you are on antibiotics and that's the only way to go forward. With the antibiotics, they always give you a B complex or so to ensure that there is some sort of a build-up of good gut bacteria, or can we do something with food as well?
Correct. So I always go naturally. Okay. The B complex is vitamin supplements, right? So sometimes they do probiotics where they give you all this good bacteria. And as we discussed, we don't know whether that good gut bacteria is what your body needs. Right?
Okay.
So we don't know that. It might help, it might not help. But more than that, what you can do is, let's say you need an antibiotic for an infection. Your doctors have prescribed it. You have taken it for like 5 days, 7 days. The most important thing is what you are eating right after that course. It's extremely critical.
After the course, not during it.
Even during also, but during, you are sick, that you might not eat that much.
Okay.
Correct? During the course, let's say you get better, that's okay as well. But around that period, peri-antibiotic intake period, around that period, one good thing about a gut bacteria is they are like our kids. We can change them, at least sometime.
We try.
We try, at least we can try. They are malleable. So you put the right seed, it will grow plant for you. Okay. So during the peri-antibiotic period, you need to make sure that you eat large amount of fiber with complex carbs, with fruits, vegetables, whole grains, cereals, as much as possible, and avoid all this over processed foods, so that you plant that seed to repopulate that extra bacteria, and it's going to take some time.
Just give you an idea, one dose of antibiotic for about 5 days destroys gut bacteria for how long?
25 to 50%.
No, for what duration do you see?
No, once it is gone, correct? Then you have to repopulate.
Oh, wow.
So, in due course of time, based on your food, it slowly repopulates.
Does yogurt help?
Absolutely. So, I always talk about 3 Fs. Okay. First F is fiber. Second F is fermented foods. And if you do these 2 Fs, the third F, fun, will come in your life, and you will not have the fourth F, which is farting.
Okay, on that note, let's go back to the studio. All right, so not that difficult to sort of repopulate your gut bacteria just by eating right. There are so many things that you can do. Also, let's now look at what else is happening in India and across the globe. And did you know it is actually World Theatre Day today?
Holy Wednesday, also known as Spy Wednesday, is the Wednesday of Holy Week, which is the week leading up to Easter in the Christian calendar. It commemorates the day Judas Iscariot betrayed Jesus to the religious authorities for 30 pieces of silver. The name Spy Wednesday comes from Judas's act of spying on Jesus as his subsequent betrayal, and it is a day of reflection and preparation for the events of Good Friday and Easter Sunday. World Theatre Day is an annual celebration that takes place on March 27th to promote awareness of the importance of theatre and its role in cultural development. It was initiated in 1961 by the International Theatre Institute, a UNESCO partner for the performing arts. The day is marked by various events and performances around the world celebrating the art of theatre and its impact on the society. International Whiskey Day is celebrated on March 27th and is a day dedicated to enjoying and celebrating the wide range of whiskies from around the world. The day also commemorates the birthday of Michael Jackson, the famous whiskey writer, not the pop star, who was a renowned expert on whiskey and other spirits. International Whiskey Day is a time for whiskey enthusiasts to share their passion for this beloved spirit and to explore new varieties and flavors. A portion of Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore collapsed after a large boat collided with it early Tuesday morning, leading to multiple vehicles falling into the water. Now, a large vessel crashed into the bridge, catching fire before sinking in the Patapsco River. Videos of the tragic incident surfaced on social media platform X. The Francis Scott Key Bridge had opened back in 1977. A Texas man has legally changed his name to literally anybody else and announced that he is running for the US presidential poll scheduled this year. Formerly known as Dustin Abbey, the 35-year-old is a US Army veteran and 7th grade math teacher in the suburbs of Dallas. He now has a Texas driver's license to prove his name change. Social media influencers Sufi Malik and Anjali Chakra have called off their wedding. In a statement released on Instagram, Pakistani origin Sufi Malik said that she made the unrecognizable mistake of betrayal by cheating on Anjali a few weeks before their wedding. Anjali Chakra and Sufi Malik are a US-based same-sex couple of Indian and Pakistani origin respectively. They rose to social media fame more than 5 years ago when their photo shoot went viral. In 2019, photos of Anjali and Sufi posing under a rain-splattered umbrella in New York had taken the internet by storm.
All right, that's all we could pack in today's edition of The Breakfast Club. We'll see you again tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. Until then, stay well.
कौन सा तार काटूं?
Digital age, where classrooms are digital, chatting up with your grandparents is digital. You cannot escape the phone. So what is the right way to incorporate that in your life? On that note, let me welcome Riddhi Doshi Patel on the program. Good morning, Riddhi.
Good morning, good morning.
She is a psychologist, she's a parenting counsel, she's a mental health practitioner and a founder and director of RINS Academy. So Riddhi is pretty much the best person to sort of take this with. Riddhi, like I said, we cannot escape phones, laptops, iPads, screens in today's age. It's just not possible. So what is the best way to incorporate it?
Parental controls, I feel, is the best way to incorporate because the parents can access. Okay. Now, when I'm talking about parental controls, there are a lot of apps. Since we are talking digital, we are talking technology. There are so many apps these days where parents can analyze, parents can have control of hours the children are using the screens.
You can monitor basically.
You can monitor, you can keep a control on the number of hours also you want your child to access social media. Okay. So that in a way helps, I personally believe.
That helps, but again, I'm sure with every age group, there's going to be a different mindset that one has to adopt. Let's look at the age group of below 14, since that's what Florida has done, since that's the active debate here as well. What age, according to you, let me just cover the bases here, okay? What age, according to you, I'm really keen to understand, is appropriate for kids to be introduced to screen for the first time?
I would say not about 8 years. If you ask me as a child psychologist, not below 8. About 8, that too 40 minutes, 45 minutes, that too also for your education purpose. Okay, there are so many things parents can do with children rather than giving them a screen or replacing parenting with screens. So there are multiple things like involving children in creating menus, having family time when you analyze or you help your child to understand the responsibility associated with having more screen times. Or how do different social media impact you as a human being, you as a child. Okay, and the best thing is parents can only explain to children, nobody else.
See, Riddhi, I'm a young mother as well, okay? So I have a lot to say about parenting and I feel very strongly about it. But let me just get this straight. You're saying not before 8 years of age should any child be exposed to screen.
Not
because the
before 8.
downside is very, very critical.
Absolutely.
It sort of hampers in character building altogether. And you're saying even after 8, only 45
minutes
in a day.
Absolutely, because I see parents that the children who are age 4 or 5 are given Instagram who are just scrolling reels, you know. They affect not only their mental health, their emotional health, their developmental issues. There are a lot of things that a child gets impacted. Also, the child's
A very good morning to all our viewers out there. You're watching the Morning News Show on CNN News 18 and I'm Sriya Kundu here with all the latest updates of the hour and the top stories of the day from across the nation and around the world, which we'll take you through in the next 60 minutes. And well, we begin the bulletin with some breaking news that's coming in. This is from the state of Karnataka. Remember the Rameshwaram cafe blast that had taken place. This is the investigation that's taking place, and the latest update there is that NIA raids in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu in connection with the Rameshwaram cafe blast case. This is the particular details that we are getting right now. We have Arunima with us on the broadcast to bring us more details about this particular probe that's ongoing. Arunima, what we are learning is that now there are NIA raids in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu in connection with this blast case. If you could just take us through what exactly are the leads that the NIA has found with regards to this.
So over the last 2 weeks, they have managed to get certain evidence which suggests that at least the accomplices of the main bomber, perhaps the bomber himself, they had stayed in Chennai for at least a month since January. The footage that they received from a particular mall in Tamil Nadu gave them first clue that these people were people who were wanted in connection with the ISIS Shimoga module earlier. The searches that are being carried out are after these leads that were received, and therefore